Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Saturday, beloved. It's Desiree Harris Bonner of DH Bonner Virtual Solutions, LLC, here in kind of cool and wet Florida. But I'm really blessed because our southern brothers and sisters aren't doing so well with all the cold. We tried to tell them to tell New York to come back and get its snow, but they said we have co-parenting rights with them, so they're not going to come back and get their snow anytime soon. So I'm praying for my Texas and Georgia and Kentucky folks who having to deal with something a little unusual today. So I just pray that everybody's safe and that they keep warm. Amen. All right, but today I have a really special guest. I love when I get to talk to the gentleman because, probably about 85 to 90% of my clientele is females. Yay, girl power. But I love it when the men come through and they share their lessons in life, their experience, and their heart for other men, young boys that are growing up, males to men. I just think it's really an honor to be able to read their works, read their experiences, and then be able to help them get their book babies from heart to paper to publish. So today I want to introduce to you and reintroduce to some who already know him, but Mr. Wallace Wyatt III. Hello, hello.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I am exceedingly well. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. It's a little chilly where I am. We have some
Yeah,
snow on the ground, but we're excited because it could be a whole lot worse.
it could be a whole lot worse. You're right about that. So, what I want to do is I'm going to come off and let you speak for a moment about who you are and what it is that you are passionate about, what it is that you do.
Okay,
Okay.
wonderful. Uh, my name is Wallace Wyatt III. I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. Went to school at Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida, and then relocated to Dallas, Texas in 2018 for grad school. And the vast majority of my life, I've always been passionate about working with young people. When I say young, I mean anywhere between the ages of 11 and 17. 10 and under, too many of them in one room give me a little bit of anxiety. However, I'm just very passionate about helping adolescents grow into healthy and whole adults, helping them find out what their passions and their purpose are, and watching them grow into thriving young adults.
So I kind of chuckled for a minute. Forgive me. I'm in my 60s. So when you said young, I kind of giggled over here because I'm like, you're young. So tell me how at such a young age you could have such a heart for your younger brothers.
Okay. Um, when I was 16 years old, I started working in an after school program. A lot of the reason I wanted to work in that program is because I was looking for an outlet from being at home. I came from a very loud and I'd even say rambunctious household. I'm the oldest of six,
Okay.
um, and I had three younger siblings at the time with me in a home where my father was driving 18 wheelers. And needless to say, I didn't have the best experience with my father's first wife.
Okay.
So I was looking for an outlet. And as I continued being in that middle school, after school setting with other young students, I found out that a lot of us were going through the same issues and struggles. So a lot of my writing came about as an outlet of self encouragement. And I realized that the more I shared it with other people, the more they could relate. And we were able to help each other through some things. And lo and behold, before I knew it, I built a career out of giving back and working with young people from similar backgrounds and situations.
I think that's kind of interesting. If I look across a lot of the writers that I get to talk to, a large part of our purpose comes out from the things that we've actually experienced and overcame.
Right.
And I love the scripture that says, when you've been healed, go back for your brothers, right? Or your sisters.
Right.
And so I think that sometimes when you hear people saying, I don't know what my purpose is, I can't find my purpose, I think that it's innate in us, right? God already breathed it
Right.
into us, right? And made us a living purpose. And so the very things, all you got to do is take a moment, take a deep breath, and look around you as what are you actually experiencing and overcoming? What is it that you're constantly faced with that you have to work through? And that thing that you have worked through and overcome, therein lies your purpose. It's right there. Go back and do that. Go do that. Do more of that.
Right.
And tell
Right.
others about it so that they can overcome in their lives as well.
And it should come naturally. For
Yes,
me, being in a room with a teenager and having a conversation comes very natural.
because it's a gift that's already been given to you. Yeah, yeah. And I think it because you've experienced certain things that you can relate to with them. Um, you do have that natural ability to do it because it's a gift that's been given to you. But then also because you can have empathy and compassion because you understand not just the surface level, but also what's deep underneath and things that they have to really think about that some of us may not ever have to think about.
Right.
Yeah. So I worked with you and helped you with your second book. So
Yes,
before
ma'am.
we get to that, tell us a little bit about your first book.
Ooh, okay. My first book was all about me. It was an autobiographical text, and I literally talked about my childhood experiences and the turmoil that I faced and how I overcame that through if I'm not mistaken, my second year of my master's degree. So all of that and everything in between. But the text is titled He's Worth the Wait, Weight. And I'm talking about the heaviness and the burdens that I carried as a child, how I overcame those situations in hopes of helping someone else learn that it's okay to go through what you went through. God has a purpose behind the burdens that you've gone through, but if you give it to Him, you'll be able to overcome. So when I say He's, I'm referring to Him. He is worth all of the weight on your life.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I love it. So what prompted you to even put pen to paper?
I was looking for an outlet. There were several adults in my life that I tried talking to, and one of two things happened. Either they just wouldn't make the time to hear me out,
Mm.
or they would discredit my experiences. So when it's pen to paper, it's just the paper. The paper's not going to stop you from continuing to write
Wow.
on it. Uh, so that was my way of saying, okay, well, I don't have anyone that's willing to listen to me without judgment, so I'll do this for me. So that was my first moment of self therapy and release. Quite naturally, when you're writing an autobiographical text, especially when you're talking about the weight and the heaviness of your life, there are going to be people who don't agree. There are going to be people who say that it's a lie. And
Mm.
then the phrase of, well, that's his truth. That's your truth. That's not my truth. That comes out. So it caused a lot of turmoil
Wow.
and frustration and division with my family, my loved ones, people that I was very, very close with. However, some of us have been able to overcome. We've been able to talk more about it. We've, in our individual settings, have gone to therapy. And then, of course, there's still some people that want nothing to do with me at all. And I'm okay with that because I am one who believes that God won't bless you in your mess.
Mm.
If it was all a lie, if it was all something that I fantasized about, or uh, I wouldn't have been able to make it this far in my journey as successful as I have been. Uh, I know that you said you're in your 60s, but I'll be 30 next month. And looking back over my life, I don't say this from an arrogant standpoint, but to think that I am 30 years old and have accomplished this much in such
In
a
that span
short
of time.
period of time,
Mhm.
I truly believe that it's all God and a blessing.
I love the part about even though I hate that it can create this level of discord when you tell your truth, I do love that you did it anyway and that you tried to work through it on the backside. A lot of the people I get to talk to at the beginning of their journey of writing, they struggle with that because they know that sharing, this is what really happened to me, and this is the person who did it, and this is, or this is the impact it's had in the family or in this relationship, and then it's they get stuck in their writing because they don't want to see the impact of that. They don't want to see what's going to happen on the other side. How did you get beyond that and go ahead and just tell it anyway?
I didn't associate with, well, let me not say associate. I didn't communicate with anyone that I was doing this because it was for me. I believe that I received a mandate from God that somebody was dealing with the same thing. And the only way they would be able to overcome is if they heard my perspective and my story. In hindsight, I can't recall the name of the movie, but it's the Clark sisters film.
Mhm.
Dr. Maddie Moss Clark was sitting with her girls, and she looked at one of them and she said, "You just shot a bullet through this family for the decision that was made." And for me, that was very much so my experience. My relationship with my mother and my father became a lot more rocky. I didn't have a lot of support, and I went through some very private and lonely moments.
Mm.
But in hindsight, if I had to do it all over again, I would. And here's the reason why. I
Okay.
often tell the young men and women that I mentor, we have literally everything that we need to get through the current situation that we're in. The difference is that it just may not be coming from who we want it to come from.
Okay.
For me, for me, I've always yearned for the love and the affection of my parents. For situations that I'm not 100% aware of, my mom walked out of my father and I's life when I was 6 months. And because of my dad's job, he drives for United Van Lines. He was often away from the home. So, in one regard or another, I always wanted the love, respect, and the attention of a parent. Though it didn't come from my mother and my father, I had grandmas, I
Yeah.
had uncles, I
Yeah.
had a pastor,
Yeah.
I had mentors that gave me everything I needed to get me to this point in life. And for me, that's all God. Didn't have it from who I wanted it from, but had everything I need and didn't miss a beat.
That is powerful. And I believe that whoever needed to hear that today, that delivered them, because it went straight through me. That is a powerful, powerful realization and revelation that God will provide what we need. But what we do is we're too busy focusing on the channel and not the source. And he can show himself in anyone and anything at any time, right?
Amen.
And when you
Yeah.
stop looking for it to come from a specific space, whether it's money, notoriety, belonging, love, whatever that looks like, and you look to him for it, he can deliver it any way he wants to.
Anyway, yeah.
That's wonderful. So now we get to the second book,
Yes, ma'am.
which has the same base, but it's a different focus.
Right.
Having read it, I know, I know this. So, but you tell it. What's the difference?
So, ironically, as a preacher, everybody has their moments of divine revelation. And October 2nd of 2024, I was riding home with my son in practice from soccer practice. I adopted a 17-year-old. And when I got home, I just went straight to my room and spent some time in prayer. I was going through some things on my job, and I'm like, God, why now? Why is all of this chaos happening all of a sudden? And I literally heard God say, "You're coming out."
Mm.
And when I went and I pulled up my playlist, I, yeah, I'm saved and I'm Christian, but I also love a good R&B song.
Sure.
And I heard Diana Ross's "I'm Coming Out," and I'm like, okay, I heard God say I'm coming out. Now Diana Ross is prophesying to me.
Yeah.
What's going on? Um, so I started doing some research about her song, and I realized that many people have equated this song to be the anthem from the LGBTQ plus community. Though I have much love and respect for that community, that was not the intention behind the song. She also was going through some things on her job with her um, what is it? Her producers that she wanted to be separated from.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm like, okay, I see that there's some form of a need for separation. So God, what are you saying? So then I open up my Bible and I turn to the Second Corinthians 6:17 text that says, "Therefore, go out from their midst and separate from them." So I realized that there's some things that we have to separate and or be separated from because we are very different. We don't fit the mold of whatever that situation was that we were in. Um, so I spent the night into the morning of October 3rd just writing out what I considered to be a devotional for self. Um, and I posted it on Facebook and I saw how it took off. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I like this. I like this. And then I started sending it to some people in my circle. And I'm a part of a group chat of some friends from high school. And it was ironic to me because just some weeks earlier, one of my friends in that chat, she kept pushing me. She's like, Wallace, you need to be more intentional in giving us Bible studies. I'm like, y'all don't understand the amount of work that comes with that. And then y'all don't really be reading the stuff. I'm not going to waste my time doing all of this for y'all not to even open it up and read it. So I started sending it to some of my sons in a circle, and their responses were all something very similar to, oh my God, Mr. Wallace, you need to do this more. The way that you talked about the Bible and how you broke this down and you related to something that was easy for me to understand. I need more of this.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
my son and his peers and my inner circle were the inspiration behind this text, using language that people who are young in one way or another, be it young in faith, be it young in age, be it young at heart,
Yes.
can relate to. Uh, because, of course, we have our big theological degrees. We talk in all of these wonderful alliterations and phrases. But how many people actually understand that unless they've gone and gotten the degree, or unless they have been intentional their whole lives and sitting in Sunday school?
Yes.
Um, so that was the whole purpose and inspiration behind this,
I think
bringing
what
the
I loved is
word.
making it relatable to them, right?
Mhm,
Instead
mhm.
of just using, without any disrespect, using this, like you said, these alliterations and these high end, these words that we use in the church. You know, that language, right? That someone coming in or someone who's not as familiar won't even understand. So they're like going into a country with a completely different language and not being able to understand, right? So I love that what you did was, I'll tell the people since you didn't tell it, is you took phrasings that the kids are using today, you know, and then applied it to the word and brought it to life for, you know, like you said, it for the urban setting. And it married their language with the scripture. Can I say it
Indeed.
like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is a yes, ma'am.
So give an example of that. Your One of your
So
favorite examples.
yeah, one of them is Ways. Ways, if I'm not mistaken, Ways is actually the first insert of the book, and it's a song by, I could be saying her name wrong, but by Janae Aiko,
Mhm.
and it stands for "Why Aren't You Smiling?" The text that it relates to is John 14:6. Jesus said to him that I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So oftentimes people don't realize that the void that's in their life is Jesus Christ. So the text is broken down into three sections. The first is the need for salvation. The second is receiving salvation, and the third is living in your salvation. So what happens is there there's seven chapters, if you would, in each section that uses and talks about something very similar to what I just described. The popular slang or urban language and the scriptural text, and I merged the two together to help you better understand why you need to be saved, how you can be saved, and now that you are saved, what you can or should expect.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I had fun reading it. So you did come up with a few phrases. I'm like, I didn't even heard it. I've never heard of that one, but I loved it. And I loved how you brought them all together. Um, so where can they get the book?
Right now, it's solely on Amazon. I mean, you can obviously reach out to me as the author, and I'll make sure you get a copy. But it comes in three formats. There is an ebook, there is a paperback, and there is a hardback cover. And I'm working on developing an Audible. So stay tuned for that.
That'll be nice. That'll
Yes,
be
ma'am.
real nice. What's next?
What's next? So I've been in prayer, and I realized empowerment for my youngins is not just a one-time thing. The concept is much needed for our young people.
Yes.
Again, be it young in age, young at heart, or young in faith. And what's next is we're adding to the series. The Empowerment for My Youngins series continues. The next one, uh, my prayer is that I'll have it published by the end of August. And this one is going to talk about relationships.
Okay.
We're going to explore relationships from the Bible in hopes of helping young adults or people in general form healthy relationships as they work towards marriage.
Wow.
Because unfortunately, people in my generation have began to despise the concept and the idea of marriage. And if it does happen, it's only as a business transaction. So we have to combat the worldly mindset of marriage.
Excellent. Excellent. I know that you're, if I remember correctly, you're working on your doctorate in ministry.
I was working on my doctorate of
Okay.
ministry. As I said earlier, I adopted a 17-year-old, and I did not realize how much work we had to put in. Um, don't get me wrong, it's been a beautiful experience, by far the most beautiful challenge that I have taken on. However, he needs my undivided attention.
Yes. Yes.
And again, even at 30, to be able, even at almost 30, to be able to say that I've completed all of my coursework for a doctorate program is a huge accomplishment for me, knowing that I'm the son, the grandson of a gentleman who grew up on a farm in South Carolina with a middle school education, to now be able to say that I've completed coursework for a doctoral program. That's transformational.
Yes.
Um, so for me, I put my education on hold for now.
Okay.
Not to say that I won't go back and finish, um, but even if I don't go back and finish, I'm okay.
I
To
celebrate you.
be
I
able,
promise you, I
thank
celebrate.
you, thank you. But for me to be able to see my son graduate, I don't want to bog everyone down, but just to
No.
share his story briefly, when he moved in with me last August, he was starting his junior year of high school with only 9.5 credits. So he was very behind in school. A lot of it was because, like me, he felt as if he didn't have the support that he needed to push him across that finish line.
Yes.
We sat down, we had a conversation, and I asked him, did he want to graduate? He said yes. And I said, well, do you want to graduate with your peers or a year later? And he told me he wanted to graduate in 2025 with his graduation class. So we put a plan in place. He took 18 classes in one school year to get back on track for graduation. here it is now. He has completed his first semester of his senior year of high school with all A's and 1B. And he is in every after school activity that you could possibly think of. Um, Two soccer teams, full. His schedule was sometimes a whole lot busier than mine. But needless to say, I believe I heard God say it was time to step back because the degree that I get from parenting him will hold
Absolutely.
so much more in the kingdom than it will adding another degree printed on paper on my wall.
You're living out your purpose. You are applying it in real
Yes,
life,
ma'am. Yeah,
ministry, relationships, love, support. The word of God is fully playing out. So I applaud you and celebrate you.
thank you.
You're welcome. What I want to do then now is I want to give you the floor for the last word. And, whatever God puts on your heart, if you want to say a prayer, if you want to encourage, it's totally up to you. I just think that there's something you are supposed to say, and I want to give you the space to do that.
Thank you. I'll say this. Oftentimes, when I am driving for Lyft and I talk about my work, people ask me, how long did it take you to write this book? You may not have caught it earlier, but I started writing on October 2nd of 2024. My last personal review was on November 3rd of 2024, and we published this work on December 18th. So the purpose of me saying that is this: when God gives you a vision, when God tells you to move, move and move expeditiously. Oftentimes, we have these grand visions of what something may look like. And then when the vision comes to pass, it doesn't look quite like we imagined it. And I just believe it's because we drag our feet too much. If God tells you to go, go. No more time for second guessing, no more time for hesitation, because God has His perfect timing for any and everything that we purpose to do in life or that He purposes for us to do. And if we don't move, we miss that opportunity window. I had no idea that I would be publishing another book, yet alone, in the year of 2024. When I sat down and I planned out everything for the year, writing another book was not among the list of things. However, God saw fit for that to change. I lost my job. However, I didn't lose my faith. And the one thing that I held on to was following God's will, instructions, and way. So, my brothers and sisters, no matter what comes up in your life, if you don't do anything else, I encourage and admonish you to trust in God, His will, His way, and more importantly, His timing. Move when He says move, obey the instructions. And no matter how grim it may look, no matter how crunched for time you may appear to be, it's all God. Because God's timing is not our timing, but His timing is indeed the best timing. God bless you and thank you for your time.
Well, Dr. Wyatt, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. It was a pleasure having this opportunity to chat with you and to hear your heart. And so thank you for doing that for us.
And thank you for having me. It's truly an honor and a humbling experience.
To God be all the glory, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and I will see you in social media land.
Yes, ma'am. Take care. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.